The deep silence of space broke as three human ships dropped out of warp at the edge of known space. The ESS Defiant led the small fleet, flanked by its sister ships Thunder and Lightning. Captain James Walker stood on the bridge of the Defiant, his experienced eyes scanning the sea of stars before him. "Status report," he called out, his voice calm and steady. "All systems normal, Captain," replied First Officer Turner from her station. "We're at the coordinates for our deep space expedition. No signs off." She stopped mid-sentence, her eyes widening at the sudden alerts flashing across her screen. The space in front of them rippled like disturbed water. Massive ships, each one easily 20 times the size of the Defiant, emerged from what looked like tiers in space itself. Their dark metal hulls gleamed against the starlight, covered in strange markings that seemed to pulse with energy. "Battle stations," Walker ordered, but kept his voice level. "Shields up, but weapons on standby. Let's not start a war today." The crew moved with practiced efficiency. Years of drills had prepared them for this moment. Humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. A communication request flashed on the main screen. Walker nodded to the communications officer, who accepted the transmission. The screen filled with the image of a tall, humanoid figure. Its skin was pale blue, and its eyes had an unnatural golden glow. "This is Imperial Commander Ross of the Galactic Empire's 7th Fleet," the figure announced in perfect English, surprising everyone on the bridge. "Your presence has been detected in Imperial space. Submit to immediate integration into the Empire, or face destruction." Walker raised an eyebrow. He looked around at his crew, then back at the screen. And then he did something that made the alien commander's eyes widen. He laughed. "I'm sorry," Walker said, wiping a tear from his eye. "But did you just try to demand our surrender without even saying hello first?" The Imperial commander's face twisted in confusion. "You dare mock the Empire? We rule over 200 species across 1,000 star systems. Your primitive vessels are no match for our fleet." Walker's smile didn't fade. "Commander Ross, I'm Captain James Walker of the Earth spaceship Defiant. On behalf of humanity, I respectfully decline your generous offer of surrender." "You have no understanding of your situation," Ross snarled. "Our ships outmass yours by a factor of 20. Our weapons can reduce planets to ash. The Empire has never known defeat." "Then let me teach you something about humans," Walker replied, his voice turning serious. "We've spent our entire history fighting against impossible odds. Every great achievement of our species came because someone looked at the impossible and said, 'No, I think I'll do it anyway.'" As if to demonstrate his point, Walker nodded to his tactical officer. The three human ships activated their shield systems, technology that made the Imperial sensors go haywire. The smaller human vessels suddenly appeared to vanish and reappear at random on their screens. "Impossible," Commander Ross shouted. "Your shield technology. It's unlike anything in our database." "Here's a free lesson about humanity," Walker said, leaning forward in his captain's chair. "We don't like bullies, we don't bow to threats, and we certainly don't surrender just because someone showed up with bigger ships." The human vessels moved in perfect formation, demonstrating maneuvers that should have been impossible for ships their size. The Imperial fleet's targeting systems couldn't get a lock on them. "This is your final warning," Ross growled, but there was uncertainty in his voice now. "No, Commander," Walker replied firmly. "This is yours. Return to your empire. Tell them that humanity stands free. And if they want our submission—" He smiled again, that same laugh dancing in his eyes. "They're welcome to try and take it." The Imperial ships hung in space, their massive forms suddenly seeming less threatening. For the first time in centuries, the Empire faced something it didn't understand. A species that looked at its overwhelming power and responded not with fear, but with defiance. Walker turned to his crew, all of whom stood proud at their stations. "Send a message to Earth," he ordered. Tell them the neighborhood just got interesting." 3 days after Captain Walker's encounter, A single Imperial vessel appeared in Earth's orbit. Unlike the warships from before, this one was sleek and decorated with golden symbols. The Earth's defense platforms tracked its approach, but held their fire. In the United Defense Council chamber in Geneva, 50 representatives from Earth's nations sat around a massive circular table. The room fell silent as Imperial Ambassador Gray entered. He walked with perfect posture, his blue skin almost glowing under the chamber lights. Council Chairman Thomas, an older man with gray hair and weathered features, stood to greet him. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador." Gray didn't return the greeting. Instead, he placed a small device on the table. It projected a massive hologram of the galaxy, with thousands of red dots marking Imperial territories. "You see before you the Empire's realm," Gray announced. "Each light represents a civilization that submitted to Imperial rule. Each one now enjoys our protection and guidance." Thomas studied the map carefully. "Impressive. Though I notice you say submitted rather than joined." Gray's golden eyes narrowed. "Choose your words carefully, Chairman. The Empire has given you 30 days to reconsider your position. Accept Imperial rule or face the consequences." A quiet laugh came from the back of the room. General Roberts, commander of Earth's space forces, stepped forward. "And if we refuse, then the Empire will send not one fleet, but 100, Gray replied. "We will darken your skies with our ships. Your Captain Walker's tricks won't save you then." Chairman Thomas smiled, reminding everyone of a grandfather about to share a secret. "Ambassador, let me tell you a story. Centuries ago, on this very planet, a small island nation tried to conquer the world. They had better weapons, better training, and absolute confidence in their victory." "Is this history lesson relevant?" Gray asked impatiently. "They attacked a sleeping giant," Thomas continued, ignoring the interruption. "And you know what happened? That giant woke up. Those who thought themselves invincible learned a harsh lesson about humanity." Thomas pressed a button, and the room's walls became transparent, revealing massive shipyards stretching across Geneva's lake. Hundreds of ships were under construction, their designs unlike anything the Empire had seen. "You see, Ambassador," Thomas said, "humanity hasn't been sleeping. We've been preparing. Ever since we looked up at the stars, we knew this day would come. Not just the day we'd meet aliens, but the day someone would try to conquer us." Gray's confidence wavered slightly. "These ships, they're all armed." "Every single one," General Roberts confirmed. "And these are just the ones we're letting you see." Thomas stood, his voice growing stronger. "For thousands of years, we fought each other. We learned. We adapted. Every weapon ever created, we found a way to counter. Every army that seemed invincible, we found a way to defeat. The Empire has never lost a war," Gray declared, but his voice lacked its earlier certainty. "Then the Empire has never fought humans," Thomas replied simply. "We don't want war, Ambassador. But if you force one upon us, you'll learn why every would-be conqueror in our history has failed." Gray gathered his composure. "You have 30 days. Choose wisely." He turned to leave but stopped at Thomas's next words. "We've already chosen," Thomas said quietly. "The real question is, has the Empire ever faced an enemy that smiled when you threatened them?" After Gray left, General Roberts turned to Thomas. "Think he got the message?" Thomas looked out at the shipyards, where thousands of workers continued their tasks, unafraid. They believe size equals strength. They think numbers mean victory, but they've never faced a species that turned resistance into an art form. He touched the window, his eyes reflecting the light of torch welders building humanity's defenses. 30 days isn't a deadline, General. It's a head start. Let's make every second count. Admiral Mary Stone stood at the window of her orbital command station, watching Earth's massive space fleet come to life. 20 days had passed since the Imperial ultimatum, and humanity had been busy. "Status report," she called out to her command staff. Operations Chief Miller looked up from his screen. All shipyards running at maximum capacity. Admiral, Mars colonies report their stealth ships are ready. Luna Base has finished upgrading the defense grid. Stone nodded, her gray eyes reflecting the starlight. Unlike the Empire's massive ships, humanity had chosen a different path. Their vessels were smaller, faster, built for hit-and-run tactics. "Show me Project Hornet," she ordered. The main screen lit up with images of Earth's newest weapon. Thousands of tiny ships, each no bigger than a bus, filled the hangars. They looked simple, almost crude compared to Imperial vessels. But that was the point. "The Empire expects us to copy their approach," Stone explained to her staff. "Big ships, big guns, head-to-head combat. They don't understand that humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology. It's our ability to think differently." She touched a control panel, bringing up the battle plan nicknamed Operation Mockingbird. The display showed human ships moving in swarm formations, using tactics inspired by Earth's smallest but most successful predators. "Ma'am," her communications officer called out, "Captain Walker is requesting permission to dock. He's brought the data from the Imperial encounter." Minutes later, Walker stood in the command center. He looked tired but determined. "Admiral, you need to see this." He plugged a data drive into the main console. "We recorded everything about their ships during our encounter. Their shields, their weapons, their movement patterns. They're all based on size and power, but they have a weakness." The screen showed detailed scans of the Imperial vessels. Stone leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "They're predictable," she said softly. Walker nodded. "Exactly. Their tactics haven't changed in centuries. Why would they? Nobody's ever beaten them." Stone smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. "Then let's teach them something new. Show me the Ghost Protocol test results." New images appeared on screen. A small human ship activated its experimental drive, and suddenly it seemed to blur, appearing in multiple places at once. The Empire's scanning technology couldn't handle the quantum distortion field. "It works," Walker confirmed. "Their targeting systems can't lock onto our ships when we're running Ghost Protocol. They'll have to aim manually, and their ships are too big and slow for that." Stone turned to her staff. "Send word to all commands. I want every ship equipped with Ghost Protocol by the deadline. And get me General Roberts at Luna Base." The general's face appeared on screen. "Admiral Stone, I assume you've seen the test results." "Indeed. How are the special modifications coming along?" Roberts grinned. "Every civilian ship in the solar system has been fitted with hidden weapon systems. If the Empire comes looking for easy targets, they're in for a nasty surprise." Stone addressed the entire command staff. "The Empire thinks they're giving us time to surrender. Instead, we're using it to prepare the biggest surprise in their 1,000-year history." She brought up an image of the solar system. Thousands of ships moved in complex patterns, running battle drills. Asteroid bases glowed with hidden weapon ports. Space stations transformed into fortresses. "Humanity has spent centuries preparing for this," Stone continued. "Every war movie, every science fiction story, every battle simulation. They've all led to this moment. We're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting to show the galaxy that size doesn't equal strength." The command center hummed with activity as orders went out across the solar system. Engineers worked around the clock. Pilots ran endless simulations. Every human being, from Earth to the outer colonies, played their part. Stone looked at her watch. 10 days remained until the Empire's deadline. "Send word to all commands," she ordered. "The Empire wants to see humanity bow. Let's show them what happens when you corner a species that turns defiance into an art form." Walker smiled. "They expect us to be scared. Should we tell them that humans have been dreaming of this fight since we first looked up at the stars?" "No," Stone replied, watching her fleet prepare for war. "Let's show them instead." The Empire's deadline arrived with a show of force that would have terrified any other species. 100 massive Imperial warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their huge forms blocking out the stars. Each ship was the size of a small city, bristling with weapons that could shatter planets. On the bridge of the Imperial command ship, Commander Ross stood confidently. "Send the final warning," he ordered. "Let's see if these humans still laugh." But the response wasn't what he expected. Across the solar system, thousands of small lights began to flicker. Hidden shipyards opened their doors. Asteroid bases revealed concealed launch bays, and from Earth's orbit, Admiral Stone's voice transmitted a simple message: "Launch Operation Mockingbird." "What are they doing?" Ross demanded as his sensors came alive with activity. The answer came in the form of swarms, thousands of small human ships, each one barely the size of an Imperial shuttle, burst from their hiding places. They moved in perfect formation, like flocks of birds or schools of fish. "Target their largest groups," Ross commanded. "Show them the power of Imperial weapons." The massive Imperial ships fired their main guns, but where their shots should have destroyed dozens of human vessels, they hit nothing but empty space. The human ships blurred and seemed to exist in multiple places at once, thanks to Ghost Protocol. "Impossible," Ross shouted. "How are they doing this?" Admiral Stone's voice came over the command channel again. "Did you really think we'd spend centuries looking at the stars without planning for this day?" The human swarms struck with surgical precision. They didn't try to match the Empire's power. Instead, hundreds of small ships targeted single Imperial vessels, their attacks coordinated by advanced AI systems. "They're not fighting fair," one of Ross's officers complained. "No," Ross realized with growing horror. "They're fighting smart." The human ships darted between the Imperial vessels' slow-firing main guns. Their smaller weapons might not have been as powerful, but they struck with pinpoint accuracy at previously identified weak points. An Imperial cruiser's engines exploded as dozens of human ships focused their fire on a single spot. Another lost its main weapons after a swarm of Earth vessels performed what looked like an impossible maneuver through its defense screen. "Launch our fighters," Ross ordered desperately. But when the Imperial fighters emerged, they found themselves facing not just military vessels. Civilian ships, retrofitted with hidden weapons, dropped their peaceful disguises. Mining vessels revealed military-grade lasers. Even space station modules turned out to be armed. "Did you think we'd label our warships clearly for you?" Stone's voice held a hint of amusement. "Humanity learned long ago that looking harmless is sometimes the best defense." The Empire's mighty fleet, designed to fight enemies that matched their style of warfare, found itself overwhelmed by an enemy that refused to play by their rules. Human ships didn't try to match Imperial firepower. They didn't engage in the noble combat the Empire expected. Instead, they struck like wolves hunting larger prey, countless small bites that slowly brought down the giant. "This is impossible," Ross whispered as he watched another Imperial ship go dark, disabled by swarms of smaller vessels. "We have superior technology, superior firepower." "But you never learned to adapt," came Captain Walker's voice as the ESS Defiant led another attack run. "You've spent 1,000 years being the strongest. We've spent our entire history learning to defeat the strongest." The battle lasted less than 3 hours. When it ended, 30 Imperial ships had been destroyed or disabled. The rest retreated in disorder, their formation broken, their confidence shattered. On her command station, Admiral Stone watched the Empire's ships flee. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. Tell them humanity just wrote its first chapter in galactic history." Walker's voice came through with a laugh. "Think the Empire will understand now why we weren't afraid?" "No," Stone replied, watching her fleet regroup, already preparing for the bigger battles to come. "But they're about to learn." The Empire's response to their first defeat in 1,000 years was swift and terrible. Not 100 ships this time, but 1,000 Imperial warships appeared across human space. They targeted not just Earth, but every human colony and outpost. In the orbital command center, Admiral Stone watched the tactical display with grim determination. Red dots representing Imperial ships surrounded every human settlement. "They're not making the same mistakes as last time," Captain Walker noted, standing beside her. "They're spreading out, trying to stretch our forces thin." Stone nodded. "They've learned. But so have we." She pressed a button on her command console. "Initiate Project Phoenix." Across human space, something remarkable happened. Civilian transport ships suddenly transformed, hidden weapon systems emerging from their hulls. Mining vessels revealed military-grade engines. Even passenger liners showed their true nature as disguised warships. "The Empire thinks they know where our forces are," Stone explained to her command staff. "They don't realize that every human ship is a potential warship." On Mars Colony, Imperial forces found themselves under attack from what they thought were simple farming domes. The structures split open, revealing hidden launch bays and defense platforms. "Status report," Stone called out. "Titan Base is under heavy attack," her tactical officer reported. "But their underground shipyards are still safe." Europa Colony reports successful evacuation to their subsurface bases. Mercury Solar Station is gone. Stone's face hardened at the news. "Send word to all commands. Execute Guerrilla Protocol 7. Human ships began using asteroid fields as cover, darting out to strike at Imperial forces before disappearing again. They used gas giants' magnetic fields to hide their signatures. Every trick humanity had learned from centuries of warfare and science fiction was put to use. "Admiral," her communications officer called out, "we're getting reports from the outer colonies. The Imperial forces, they can't coordinate their attacks properly." Walker smiled. "Their quantum communications are being disrupted. They never thought to protect against old-fashioned radio waves modified with human encryption." In the Jupiter sector, an Imperial fleet found itself attacking empty space while human ships struck from behind. Near Venus, solar flares that should have been predictable suddenly changed course, as if guided by unseen hands. "They thought they knew what we were capable of," Stone said, watching the battles unfold. "They thought our first victory was luck. Now they're learning that humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology. It's our endless creativity." The tactical display showed human ships using every trick they could think of. Small vessels ducked into asteroid fields where larger Imperial ships couldn't follow. Colony ships that the Empire thought were evacuating civilians turned out to be carrying missile batteries. "Ma'am," her sensor officer reported, "Imperial forces are pulling back from the outer colonies. They're regrouping. They're learning that size isn't everything," Walker observed. "But they're still dangerous." As if to prove his point, an Imperial fleet broke through Mars' outer defenses. But instead of finding panicked civilians, they found empty cities. The human colonists had retreated underground, turning their entire settlement into a fortress. "Send word to Earth Defense Command," Stone ordered. "Tell them to prepare for the big push. The Empire's getting frustrated, and frustrated enemies make mistakes." She looked at the tactical display, where thousands of small human ships continued their hit-and-run attacks against the mighty Imperial fleet. Every human loss hurt, but they were making the Empire pay dearly for each victory. "They wanted us to be scared," Walker said quietly. "They wanted us to see their huge fleets and give up." Stone nodded. "Instead, we're teaching them why humanity has survived every challenge we've ever faced. We don't just fight. We adapt, we improvise, and we never, ever give up." The battle for human space wasn't over, but with each passing hour, the mighty Empire was learning a lesson that every would-be conqueror of humanity had learned before them. Size and power weren't everything. Sometimes, the most dangerous enemy was the one who smiled in the face of overwhelming odds. Dr. Alan White hadn't slept in 3 days. He sat in his underground lab on Luna Base, surrounded by holographic displays showing Imperial communications. Behind him, a team of Earth's best computer experts worked tirelessly at their stations. "I found it," he suddenly announced, his tired eyes lighting up. "Their weakness. I actually found it. Admiral Stone and Captain Walker arrived within the hour. The lab's screen showed complex patterns of Imperial ship movements and communications. "Explain it simply, Doctor," Stone requested. White pointed to the central display. "The Empire's entire fleet operates on a perfect chain of command. Every order, every movement, every shot fired. It all comes from their central command ships. They've never needed to think independently because they've never lost before." Walker leaned forward. "You're saying their ships can't fight without orders?" "They can," White replied, "but they don't want to. 1,000 years of victory made them rely too much on central control. And that's where we can hurt them." Stone's eyes narrowed. "Can you break their communications?" White smiled. It was the tired smile of someone who hadn't slept but had found something amazing. "Better. We can get inside them. Their network security is ancient. They've never needed to upgrade it because no one ever challenged them." The next day, humanity launched its boldest move yet. While Imperial ships pressed their attack across human space, teams of hackers led by Dr. White struck at their communications network. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then Imperial ships began receiving conflicting orders. Some ships received commands to retreat while others were told to advance. Battle groups found themselves moving in opposite directions. "Status report," Stone called from her command center. "Imperial fleets are in chaos," her tactical officer reported with barely contained joy. "Their command structure is breaking down. Some ships are even firing at each other." Walker watched the tactical display where Imperial ships moved in confusion. They never imagined someone could break into their network. They thought their technology was too advanced to hack. They forgot that humans have been fighting cyber wars against each other for centuries, Stone replied. "While they were conquering with brute force, we were learning to break into each other's most secure systems." Across human space, the battle turned. Imperial ships, cut off from their central command, faced enemies that could think and act independently. Human vessels struck at confused Imperial formations, their swarm tactics now even more effective. "Message from Earth Defense Command," the communications officer announced. "All sectors report Imperial forces in retreat. They're running." The mighty Imperial fleet, which had never known defeat in 1,000 years, was in full retreat. Ships that could have destroyed whole planets fled from vessels a fraction of their size. In the command center, Walker turned to Stone. "Should we pursue?" Stone shook her head. "No need. Let them run. They've just learned something important about humanity." "What's that?" "That the size of the ship doesn't matter as much as the intelligence of its crew." She smiled. "And that humans have spent centuries preparing for exactly this kind of fight." Dr. White's voice came over the comm. "Admiral, we're picking up transmissions from other systems. Other species in the Empire. They're watching. They've seen what happened here." Stone nodded. "Of course they are. The Empire's never been defeated before. Now everyone's seeing that it's possible." The tactical display showed the last Imperial ships fleeing human space. Behind them, they left disabled vessels and shattered formations. The Empire's reputation for invincibility was broken. "Send word to all commands," Stone ordered. "The Empire just learned why you don't threaten a species that spent its entire history learning to defeat stronger enemies." Walker looked at the retreating Imperial ships. "Think they'll be back?" "Probably," Stone replied. "But next time, they'll remember what happened when they demanded humanity's surrender." "And what's that?" Stone smiled. "That humans don't bow to threats. We break them." 1 month after the Empire's retreat, a single Imperial diplomatic vessel approached Earth. This time, there were no threats, no demands for surrender. Instead, it carried the Imperial High Council's chief negotiator. The meeting took place in the same Geneva chamber where the Empire had first demanded humanity's surrender. But now, the room felt different. Through the transparent walls, construction crews could be seen repairing battle damage. their work illuminated by Earth's setting sun. Admiral Stone and Captain Walker represented Earth's military forces. Chairman Thomas led the diplomatic team. They waited as the Imperial negotiator, a tall figure named Lord Reed, entered the room. The Empire, Reed began, his voice carefully neutral, has never signed a peace treaty before. We've only ever accepted surrenders. Then this will be a learning experience for everyone, Thomas replied with a gentle smile. Reed placed a document on the table. The Empire is willing to recognize human space as independent territory. That's a good start, Thomas said, but not enough. Reed's golden eyes narrowed. You dare ask for more? Walker laughed, the same laugh that had started this whole conflict. We're not asking. While you were running away, we received messages from 12 different species in your empire. They want our protection. Impossible, Reed declared. No species would dare rebel against an empire that just lost its first war in 1,000 years. Stone interrupted. They've seen that you can be beaten. More importantly, they've seen how. Thomas slid a different document across the table. Our terms are simple. The Empire will recognize not just human independence, but the right of any species to claim their freedom. Those who want to stay in the Empire can. Those who want to leave can join the new Free Systems Alliance. Reed stared at the document. You want us to simply allow rebels to. We want you to evolve, Thomas said firmly. The galaxy is changing. The Empire can either change with it or watch itself crumble as more species learn what humanity already knows, that size and power aren't everything. Stone stepped forward. Our fleets will guarantee the safety of any world that chooses independence. And before you think about refusing, she pressed a button, showing a tactical display of Imperial space. Hundreds of small dots moved through Imperial systems. Those are human ships, Walker explained cheerfully. Small ones, hard to detect. They're already in position throughout your territory. Amazing how easy it was to slip them past your defenses while you were focused on your big fleets. Reed's face paled slightly. This is blackmail. This is evolution, Thomas corrected. The Empire taught everyone that strength comes from size and power. Humanity is teaching a different lesson. That true strength comes from adaptation, cooperation, and the courage to stand up to bullies. The negotiation lasted 3 more days. In the end, the Empire signed, not just a peace treaty, but a fundamental change in how the galaxy would work. The age of empire was ending. The age of freedom was beginning. As Reed prepared to leave, he turned to Walker. That first day when you laughed at our demands, did you know this would happen? Walker smiled. No, but we knew something you didn't, that humans have spent our entire history dreaming about this moment. Every story, every movie, every book about space taught us one thing. When the aliens come to conquer Earth, humanity doesn't bow. We fight back. We win. After the Imperial ship departed, Stone joined Walker at the window. They watched Earth's defense fleet conducting patrol exercises, small ships moving with perfect coordination. Think they'll honor the treaty? Walker asked. Stone shrugged. They'll have to. Because now everyone in the galaxy knows something important about humans. What's that? That we're the species that laughs at impossible odds. The ones who look at an invincible empire and say no. The ones who turn defiance into victory. She smiled. And we're just getting started. In space, Earth's ships continued their patrols. Small vessels, quick and agile, crewed by a species that had turned thousands of years of fighting stronger enemies into an art form. They weren't the biggest or the most powerful ships in the galaxy, but they were crewed by humans. And that, as the Empire had learned, made all the difference.